did you have a mentor at the beginning of your career who guide you to this field?
Believe it or not, no. To be very honest with you, it was a complete coincidence. It was a complete coincidence. I've always been an M&A lawyer for maybe 15 years of my career. And then when I moved here, I decided just to shift to capital markets, and here you go. It started, and I think we've achieved a nice result so far.
Absolutely. You have a stellar, absolutely, you have a stellar reputation in the market as one of the pioneers of this field. And with this, I want to go back to the companies with a question. What is the hardest challenge a company could face when they are preparing for an IPO?
The hardest challenge will always be readiness. The company will have to be ready for an IPO. And the problem with IPOs, you have certain IPO windows every year, right? And if you miss that window, you have to wait for the second window. And you can easily miss that window if you are not ready. So the challenge is you will always have to be doing all the housekeeping of your company on a regular basis. Don't wait until your shareholder decide to push the button and say, we want to do an IPO. Because by that time, in order to work on your housekeeping, probably it will be too late. So you need to start early on, be ready, because whether or not you're going to go for an IPO, it is a very healthy exercise to do. It's to keep the house clean. If not for the IPO, you can have a strategic investor to invest in your company. It will definitely enhance the transparency and governance in your company, which will have a very positive impact on the valuation of your company. So in all cases, you win, right? You absolutely losing nothing from keeping the company in order, doing all the housekeeping and be everything ready ahead of time. And when shareholder decide to push the button, you are ready and you can go out in the exact window that bankers and shareholders will want to go out.
Let's assume as a company in quite a healthy state with the housekeeping, as you mentioned. How many months you want them to get in touch with you before the window is closed?
Again, IPO readiness would typically take from 3 to 6 months.
Yeah.
Okay, so if you put this in mind, and again, if you miss one window, you can do the next window. But the key is to keep your company clean and ready to push the button.
And does it make a difference if, for example, a company is already listed in another market and they're coming to be listed in the UAE? Does it affect the readiness? I think it would.
Yes, because if the company is already listed somewhere else, it will be a dual listing or cross listing. Which means that the company regularly publish their financial information on a quarterly basis. The financial is already according to IFRS. There is already a governance regime in place. Shareholders and board of directors are pretty much acquainted with the governance regime. There is a board structure in place. There is an independency and non-executive board members.
Yeah.
All the ancillary committees of the board members are already in place. So definitely it cuts a lot of the time period required for readiness.
With this great experience that you have, what could be the area from a regulatory perspective that you would see or you would like to see a little bit of reform or development?
Listen, if I compare what we are doing now with what we used to do in 2013 and 2014, it's a completely game changer. So, for example, in 2013, 2014, in order to do an IPO, we had to seek a very long list of exemptions. And there were no book building at that point in time. It was a very primitive way of pricing methodology, which is a fixed price. You bring a valuer, the valuer will value the company based on book value or discount cash flow or what have you, and this becomes the value of your company without any interaction with investors. So it's not necessarily give you the accurate reflection of the valuation of your company. And I remember in 2014, it was A'mar Malls, which owns the iconic Dubai Mall. It was the first company to go out following the book building. And at that point in time, no other companies ever pursued a book building exercise in an IPO. So if you look at the rules at 2014 and the rules now, you can see a huge development. So now, actually, the set of rules that are in place are pretty much in line with international standards. However, we have to be cautious not to blindly replicate what other developed markets follow, like London Stock Exchange or New York Stock Exchange, because ultimately the market is not as developed as these markets.
Right.
So we have to be very careful when we apply the international standards, because the understanding, the experience of local investors here are still not at the same level of the UK or in the US. It will happen eventually. So until this happens, we have to be very careful of what we are going to apply. But generally speaking, the improvement and the developments and the progress that the Securities and Commodities Authorities did over these past years is phenomenal. And I can say that now 95% of the existing rules are pretty much in line with international